The Lost Cryptids Conservatory, where we will shatter your reality to bring you closer to the truth.
The official history is they're just Native American mounds, and there's nothing. But the real stories are there's more history to it. They're haunted.
Okay.
Yeah, they could be stuff buried in them. Obviously, artifacts and stuff like that, which you're not allowed to dig. You're not allowed to find. It's illegal, and if you don't report it and turn it over, it's definitely illegal. So, which is really crappy because if like I accidentally dug into something and found something, and it'd be like, would it actually be reported or would it be secretly covered up? Because it doesn't go along with the official narrative. And that's what I kind of feel is happening with Sasquatch sometimes, because the government definitely knows that Sasquatch is real. There's scientists that know. If they're not doing their job properly. Our government's a buffoon then. And I just think that they're keeping things covered up. They're not allowing the public to see all the evidence, to know what we know. I mean, they're talking more about UFOs than they are about Bigfoot. I just have no idea why they would talk about that and not Bigfoot first.
Are you thinking that there's archaeological evidence that's being covered up?
Oh yeah, definitely.
In the U.S.
Well, we know that. We know there's reports of the Smithsonian gathering not just giant skeletons, but regular Native American artifacts, and then there's nowhere to be found. There's some stories of them being destroyed because of racist ideology and stuff when it comes to Native Americans and what their culture should have been and what they were finding.
You think? Okay, yeah, I would love to.
I mean,
into that a bit too. Are there any sightings that you could specifically point out so I could go investigate on that stuff that disappears? I know there's
there's a lot of. A lot of that's from the 1800s and stuff. So you're looking at old reports, old newspaper clippings that some journalists and stuff are lying, faked, made up stories. Some of it was true. A lot of it, even if it's all mostly fake, a lot of it is the Smithsonian was in charge of finding all the artifacts and figuring out what happened and taking them into their warehouse to store. And the reality is they don't have any of those artifacts. They don't have a lot of the stuff that they supposedly took. Even the records of the towns, folks saying, yeah, this mountain was found here. They took out giant skeletons, copper tools. And we know that, copper tools and jewelry and metalworks wasn't really done all over North America by Native Americans. It was only by the Copper Mountain people and in that very short time period. But they described stuff being found in Texas that was copper battle axes, necklaces, a lot more detailed weaponry than what we're used to Native American having. And even talking about shields and even type of armor, copper armor. So
do you think that could have been like Scandinavian in origin, like Vikings coming over to?
Well, the Bronze periods and the Greece, coming over and the intertrading and with the cultures and doing that, yeah, for sure. Or just the Native Americans learning and adapting and creating their own thing. Yeah. It's just the point is they're wiping all out and saying, oh, these Native Americans were just savages, tribes, primitive people who hunted and gathered for the last 10,000 years and had no significant culture other than oral tradition. And that is really just downplaying on the vastness of the history of North America.
Yeah, I agree that they don't give enough credit to the advancements. It's because by the time that the historian people that wrote records at that time arrived in North America, 80%, I think it was 80% of the population had been wiped out by the plague that spread from first contact all over 2 continents in less than like 30 years that wiped out 80% of the population. They don't teach that. They didn't teach that when I was in school. They did teach that the Europeans brought diseases, but they didn't teach that, and those diseases wiped out 80%
On the blankets, they brought them out of the blankets, and that wiped them all out. Like, no, the Spanish brought them out, and that's why there's reports of the Spanish, the conquistadors going to South America and all the cities of gold and all these cities and stuff, and then when they came back like 100 years later, they couldn't find them. They're all gone. It's all jungle. Because they all died. They all died from the diseases.
Right. Exactly. All those the entire lost cities alleged to be in these deep jungles because
still there.
And we have examples of these being found. It's not like this is a concept that's far flung and inconceivable. We find cities all the time, especially now that we're doing what's the new mapping system that they use where
LiDAR.
Yeah, it's
LiDAR stuff
where they fly over a jungle and you can see the foundations of cities that used to be underneath there of these lost cultures. And they're big stone cities. They're not little villages of with
right. They're significant
masonry and
monoliths and stuff. Incredible stoneworks and using technologies and knowledge that. Definitely in modern times, you go take out our construction equipment out there and go build one of those. It ain't happening, man.
Yeah, they had to innovate their own. They had to make their own way, right? It's incredible what the human mind can accomplish. We did this in other seemingly inconceivable locations as well.
Yeah, that's what humans are. We're builders. We build. That's kind of what is definitely distinctive with us is we gathered enough resources and sat around and started building things, and ideas and brains just grew from there. Now here we are. So
yeah, I'm freaking thrilled to be here. It's especially at this point in time where we're starting to learn about, again, like these lost cities buried deep in the jungle because of this great dying of the Western world that just gets overlooked and doesn't get talked about hardly. I don't know. Maybe they talk about it now in school. When I was in school, they didn't talk about it. Did you learn about?
It's downplayed.
Other than just that they brought disease to us, to the Native Americans, and they died, and some of them died, but they don't tell you that it was like on the level of to that population as the Black Death, as the Great Plague was to Europe. It was the same thing to Native Americans, and they never had any relief. They just it killed.
Yeah, they say up to maybe 100 million or something. They really just don't know. That's the problem, is that they don't know actually how many was here, but they know that from all estimates from South America and on up, there was a lot.
Yeah, and the civilization in the Midwest, the one Cahokia that I was talking about earlier, that was a big population center. Millions of people lived there, and it was abandoned. The whole, not just the city, not just the population center, but the whole culture gone by the time that from the point they never had contact with real Europeans. Not in Cahokia. Or I keep saying Cahokia. Cahokia is another city. They never had any real contact with them, right? They got the disease secondhand from other groups that had contacted, or probably third or fourth hand, if you want to be specific about it, because they're so far from the coast and from South America where the Europeans were engaging. So they were wiped out within just the couple hundred years between when Lewis and Clark and everything started exploring that area between then and between the first contact and then 150 maybe years. This whole entire
it was like 1500s, early 1500s.
Whole entire civilization gone.
Wiped out.
Yeah. I mean, in the ruminants, they went to the hunter-gatherer society just because when you only have that small of a population, and with the technology that was available to a group that small, that's probably the best you're going to do. They didn't lose their agriculture or anything. They still maintained that. They still had places where they went and maintained gardens and things like that in the forest. They had areas that they cleared out for parks and stuff like that. They had society even after the collapse of these big civilizations. They would just downplay it a bit. The same thing that would happen the same thing that happened after the Roman Empire fell, for that matter.
Yeah, well, we've seen the I walks just left, and glad to have you on. And now we got James, the color kid, joining us. How's it going, James?
It's all right. I've been listening along. Three people's a lot. I don't want to join in.
Oh, man, it's all good. We can. I think we have like
I'll
up to 6.
Have to bounce here a little bit, but I don't want to just bounce as soon as you get here. I was keeping Blake company until you showed up.
Yeah, it was good conversation, so I was just listening.
Yeah.
Yeah, you never know what can happen on a free for all, and that's the whole point of the show.
Any of it tickle your fancy to revisit? You have any?
No, not really.
Yeah.
I like the Native American talk, because that was good.
Yeah. Yeah, when we were talking about the Anasazi, who were the ant people? I can't remember what the name of the ant people were, but they lived under the ground, kind of like that too.
They said that they came from the ant people, right? Like they were the ancestors.
Yeah, they descended from them.
They came out of the ground and stuff, out of a world, and came to the surface world. The whole hollow Earth theory, which I actually like to subscribe to a little bit more. Not like there's actual like whole star and stuff like that, but I think there's underground expanses of the Earth that can hold life and possibly have its own biodome and ecosystems and stuff like that. Thermal vents, geothermal vents, and stuff like that. So you can have different types of temperatures, not necessarily
dark worlds. Though I guess there could be there's phosphorus down there, though. There could be.
And then if you want to get the whole, Agartha and all these ancient cities or underground cities or lost cities, blah blah blah.
Dude, what was that name? I'm going to take a note of that, because
Agartha. There's Agartha. There's like Shambhala in the Himalayas, Agartha. There's a Eurasian one, which is kind of like over by Russia and stuff. And there's a lost city over there that the Soviets, they actually spent money and tried to look for it and stuff. It's kind of cool.
Thank you. These are because I know a lot about I know more about is like lost, like the islands like Mu and Lemuria, of course Atlantis, things like that. But yeah, I'm not familiar with these ones. So this is excellent stuff that you're giving me tonight, Blake. Excellent stuff.
Oh yeah, and I think it was an excellent conversation with everything. Pretty neat stuff. And so this whole hollow Earth thing. A lot of people think Sasquatch lives underground. There's reports I've been told of. These are just rambles and rumors of our military actually dropping bombs in deep underground spaces at whatever's down there. We're not quite sure, but they're bombing the crap out of whatever is down there. Well, and that like space force isn't really for space. It's for more like terrestrial exploration of deep Earth exploration. That's the new frontier. It's not space. It's deep Earth exploration.
Flying up and looking back down. You think?
Yeah, like car systems and stuff. There's obvious water down there. There's this could be life. There's things that we are finally exploring that ancient cultures talk about. There's I can't remember what country it's in. It was like France or somewhere in Europe. They had this mine, and they broke into this new cavern, and they had this like insect humanoid type of creatures that were attacking them. So they had to they eventually collapsed that mine and stuff. But there's like stories of them breaking into this chamber.
Reminds me of the Van Meter monster from Iowa. There were like two creatures that were like seen in this town, Van Meter, Iowa, at the turn of the century, and they tracked. It had like glowing horns, and it was really weird creature. It had glowing horns, and they chased it back to this coal mine and collapsed the mine on it. But they thought that the miners had woken something up, dug too deep, like the dwarves of Moria releasing the
Right.
the Balrog. Yeah.
Yeah, there's some stories about that. Honestly, it's kind of weird too, because and that's the whole concept of the abyss, this underworld, right? Of underneath the ground and in these dark places. And there's a castle in Europe. I think it's in Germany, or maybe one of these castles. I think it was during the 1940s, 30s. The Nazis took over, and it was Heinrich Himmler's SS castle, I believe, or one of their castles. I think it was his actual SS castle. They did a lot of occult things there. There was a lot of legends of this castle before. I think one of the legends is there's an underground chasm.
Real quick, I did this stream the other night. You need to go watch. It was about the secret Nazi weapons. If you're into to that sort of stuff, I did it with my friend who's he's a doctor or almost a doctor. He does laser stuff he did a lot of research into it. But anyway, if you're into that, go on. I'm sorry about Himmler's castle and the connection.
Yeah, they were doing a lot of weird, crazy stuff, and just that whole time period. What a crazy event it was for the whole world. A lot of stuff was happening. A lot of stuff happened because of that, actually. So basically, this castle and stuff, it was built over top this this chasm or whatever, and basically there would be these monsters that would come out of it and stuff. And this castle was built around it and eventually sealed off, and the Nazis obviously took it over, knowing about the story and trying to do all sorts of things. But if you just look up European castle built over top of demon hole or whatever, the story should come up pretty easily. It's a 5-minute Google search,
That's good stuff. I'll have to look into that.
And yeah, the Nazi super weapons, they did a lot of things that people just don't realize and stuff. A lot of crazy experiments. I mean, they had like Big Bertha, big huge rail guns on train cars, massive.
Yeah, we covered
ones
those.
on the side of the mountains. I mean, that shot.
Did
crazy
the one
things.
that was they were building in the mountainside, the big gun that they were building on the mountainside in France to point at London? There was gonna fire.
Just
what is it? 60 miles to London. This gun was literally going to fire that far. Their ballistics were incredible, but of course the V series missiles.
The rockets and all that.
Those were
more practical.
There was no answer to that. The Nazis pulled no punches there at the end. Did you know about the sun gun that they were going to put that they were wanting to put into orbit? They had a timetable and a fight.
I know they were working on. They had space shuttle designs. They had glider designs, space shuttle gliders, bombers that would just glide and hit wherever in the world. They were working on stuff. They built our space program almost. I mean, they were working on stuff that was so advanced it was ridiculous. A lot of people don't understand, where they get these ideas from, and that's where a lot of this,
Von Braun,
the occult things.
Braun, Operation Paperclip. Yeah, that's
speaking about aliens and them going to Antarctica and meeting with the Greys and getting information, or
that's Operation High Jump.
Yeah, Operation High Jump.
Operation Paperclip is where the U.S. took
all the scientists from the Nazis.
Yeah, well, the U.S. and the Soviets took all the Nazi scientists and said, "Hey, we'll get this one, you get that one. We get this one, you get that one." Is how that kind of broke down. Of course, I guess we got von Braun and I guess Othberg. Anyway,
the official ones.
Oberth. That's who I'm thinking of. Oberth.
There's some ones that they don't. We're never gonna know their names.
Yeah, man. We've
supposedly
been on some topics tonight. Now we're like a Nazi. Yeah. We talk about Native Americans. And,
I know that the story of Jekyll Island. The story of Jekyll Island, the creature of Jekyll Island. that was supposedly ran by a Nazi who was testing, and then the story of
Ray, you wanna tell it to us?
the story of Jekyll Island and stuff. The Montauk Monster, and basically it was this island of military research and stuff that supposedly ran by a Nazi with Operation Paperclip. He specialized in biological warfare and insects, and they did testing there, and supposedly one of these testing things got off the island and landed in a little town in Connecticut called Lyme, where Lyme disease came from, supposedly.
Interesting.
Link between that.
There is, yeah. Basically, like it took a hitched ride on a bird and flew off that, but it is really telling that our own government did take a lot of these Nazi guys and put them in our programs, and then some of these guys definitely seen and caused people to die.
So the Montauk monster that I'm familiar with is the raccoon carcass.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Is that supposed to be the same monster?
Same monster. There's a couple other carcasses that wash up, but
so these are supposed to be like biological experiments done on that island.
What people are saying, yeah. But the one story that I heard is about the Lyme disease coming in Connecticut. But
yeah,
if you can, because I think the official story on Lyme disease is that it actually did come from there.
I think that's where the first reported case is, anyway.
Right.
I think
right, which kind of plays into the story, but
yeah. And that's close to Montauk. Lyme is.
It's right across the lake from where that island would be.
I'm not familiar with the area, so I'll have to look into it. That's an interesting topic to cover too. I didn't know there was anything more to it than just a carcass that washed ashore. I knew that they said, "Oh, it's supposed to come from this research facility," but every time I look into the research facility, it kind of looked pretty mundane. Like people were hyping it, but it's not really anything. But you're saying
this would have been back in the
post World War II, yeah,
just after, yeah.
Like they were doing fucked up stuff at that time.
We were, because we started doing biological stuff, nuclear stuff, and we dropped bombs in Nevada and stuff. I mean, we were doing underground stuff. There were declassified information. They did. They sprayed radioactive particles in cities. They did all sorts of crazy stuff, and
yeah,
it's just ridiculous. But
what they did,
trying to blow up the atmosphere.
The syphilis experiment. What's that?
It was the Trendusky experiment on black people. Tuskegee.
Yeah, Tuskegee. Yeah. They gave them all syphilis, and there was a cure for syphilis, but they didn't tell them what the cure was, and they just monitored their behavior and actions after they gave them syphilis. It was really a messed up thing to do to a population of your own people. But hey, this was before civil rights, and they were black people, so it didn't really come forward. And it's kind of
I mean, it's just people in power and stuff, and people people in authority and stuff. You trust those people, and it was under the guise of free healthcare and stuff, and and medicine, and that's what's scary the most about government stuff. It's people. People can be good, people could be bad, and governments and groups of people, as governments are just groups of people, can do the most horrendous things. And we see that through the Nazis. We see that through the Soviet Union. I mean, they were making pamphlets in the 1920s. It's wrong to eat your kids. That isn't a sanity level of, you got to tell people to don't eat your kids. It's morally wrong.
Well,
because everyone's starving to death, and everyone's just
that you could buy people to eat. Long pig, an actual thing for starving, for these nations in starvation states. That was China was in that state for a lot of the first half of the 20th century. That's kind of where all that the notion of long pig in general comes from, because the starvation state of that nation.
Yeah, it's sad, and yeah. So we have that today. I think we see that around the world. It's kind of the same thing. It's probably how it's always been. I think our government, at least we got freedoms. We might be the most freest slave out there, but we could have it a lot worse, man. So we're able to sit here, talk about Bigfoot and all these other crazy things, and you don't have to worry about much. So I guess we've got that going for us. But
21st century is pretty sweet, I think.
Yeah, what a time period to live in, man. What a crazy time period.
Ancient civilizations in the jungle and all that good stuff.
Yeah. Well, James, what's on your mind? I know Tyler, he just got 10 days worth of audio of evidence that hopefully can turn into something. So we're pretty excited about that. But what about you, James? Doing anything lately and stuff? I know you've been working a lot lately.
What do you mean by doing stuff?
I don't know. What's on your mind, man? You've been like learning anything new on some topics, some video you've seen? You're like, what's brand new in James's life right now?
Not much.
Have you discovered any lost civilizations or anything like that?
No.
Have you tried? I mean, the expeditions are what's really worth the reporting if history shows us anything. So you can just tell us about your expedition. You don't actually have to find anything.
If people would finance me, I'd go on a lot more expeditions all over the world. But
we were talking, James, we were talking about the mounds that are near where we live, because me and Blake both live near mounds, and the guy we had in here before, said he was near some mounds too. Are you near any mounds?
Maybe, but I'm not going to them.
Me and James actually found like unmarked rock pile mounds and stuff. They're rock piles, but they're mounds and stuff, and they're different dimensions. They're small ones. Some of them are 4 feet wide by like 8 feet, or 4 by 5. Some of them are 10 by 20. Some of them are 20 by 20. The biggest one I've seen was like 30 by 40.
Is there?
And these are big rocks and stuff. Huh?
Is there soil over them too?
No. Some of them are, yes. Some of them have soil. Some of them are in the process of being covered. Some of them are not. They have moss and stuff, but they have not. And some of these rocks are out of place and stuff. And we've also found what I think are markers. These are pretty big boulders, or 100 to 200 pound boulders or more, or pound rocks that are placed on top of ridges or along the side, and they point towards water, or sometimes they connect to another mound. Just definitely doesn't seem like a person in modern times brought that out there. No modern machineries pushed that into place, stuff like that. It's off of roads in the middle of the woods, so it's no modern people are doing it, at least.
Sometimes it marks the opening of the inner earth to those giant pockets to the nether.
Yeah, I don't know, maybe.
One of the ones I remember most about the stories like that it's from the UK. There was a mine that alleged pteranodon, or they call it a pterodactyl in the report, I believe, but crawled out of a mine and died when it breathed the air from the outside. I always thought that story was kind of funny, but there are, like you said, a lot of legends like that. Of course, the movie The Descent is based upon humans that live down in a thing like that. That movie is freaking awesome, by the way, if you haven't seen it.
That's creepy. That's a creepy movie, man. Movies. And it reminds me of the Cherokee have a legend of the Moon People. I don't know if you heard that legend. The Moon People. They're a race of people that live in caves and are actually light sensitive. And the Native Americans, had conflict over the years and finally, started to exterminate these people. And so there's a great conflict under a great moon because these moon-eyed people couldn't see during a full moon. They were blinded by the light. They were that sensitive. I guess they could see in the dark. And so the Native Americans started to wipe them out during this time of the great moon and push them back into these caves, and they
crazy.
described them as a different type of people. They weren't
Cherokee,
they weren't
the
natives.
Cherokee, the region that the Cherokee lived in, like South Carolina and that area initially where they came from. That's where the stuff about the wild people that live in the caves and the mountains in Appalachia come from, like the Dennis Martin story and stuff like that. Speaking of, do you know South Force 10? Talking about the Dennis Martin stuff.
I know about the case, Dennis Martin case.
There's a YouTube channel. I go listen to him. He's like a Smoky Mountain storyteller kind of guy, but he like walks around the graveyard with a camera, just telling stories and just walking around, and telling the stuff the legends he grew up with and stuff. And he talks about what he was told from the people in his life about what happened to the Dennis Martin case. And there's notion of wild people that are different than Bigfoot, that live in the back of the caves in the woods and in the Smokies and perhaps elsewhere in the Appalachian Mountains that are not quite human. It's a weird narrative that he spins. There's about he has videos about other stuff too, like ghost stories and Bigfoot stories too from the area, but and Dogman stories from the area. But he has about 6 or 7 videos covering just those wild people in the Dennis Martin case. So it's worth listening to. I covered it a couple weeks ago on my show on CryptoCorner. I did do a piece about it, but I think you'd be interested in it too. Sounds like it'd be right up your alley.
Yeah, I've heard stories about those Appalachian wild people that are not Sasquatch related, right? And I've heard some stories that they're like, they're actually like European settlers that went wild and stuff too. And then there's these were already here type of stories. So
Right.
I don't know. I don't know what to think, honestly. And then you had the Moon Eye people. I mean, I think there's a lot of stuff that we just don't know about. And honestly, no one's out there 24/7. I mean, as modern people, we can't. We just can't be out there.
Though, right? Well, I mean, we're just sitting here armchairs, but I would love to go out into the Appalachians on an expedition like that, looking for, not even necessarily looking to find the people, but if I could just find the caves,
I'm good.
Oh yeah, I mean, I would love to if I had the resources to do it. There's places in Michigan I want to go.
It sounds like we're going to go on this trip, and that James is going to be the Shaggy of the bunch when we're out there.
I don't want to go into any caves that lead us down a hole and we can't get out. Or
I love spelunking. Have you ever been spelunking?
No, I went into Carlsbad Cavern, but that wasn't spelunking.
Like on a tour.
Yeah. We could have went actually spelunking off while you're crawling and stuff, but it wasn't open that day, so we didn't do that.
I did a little bit of that before at Great.
I've been looking into it
Caves.
a lot though, and researching it, and different types of cave systems, and karst systems and stuff like that mostly. But I wouldn't want to mess with caves.
Small space.
Certain types of caves and stuff.
You got claustrophobia, James?
No,
here in Michigan, we got like limestone caves and stuff like that, so they're pretty okay for the most part. But like I know, like in Appalachia, there's like soft, muddy, putty caves and that are very brittle, easy to collapse. They're not all like universal stable. So
yeah, you wouldn't want you wouldn't want to go into any unmapped cave. That would be. I mean, that's what they did. Lead a descent, and it would probably not end good for you. I don't know. I need to get some caving hours under my belt. I haven't done it since I was like my late teens. I'm almost 40 now, so.
Yeah, if me and James found a cave, straight up, I would be telling everyone, hey, this is where this at. You gotta let people know. I would have rope, flashlights, lights, backup lights, water, and we wouldn't really be going that deep, man. And it's like it's a lot easier to go down than to go back up. So
Yeah.
you don't go far into caves at all. You're not trained or professionally know what you're doing. Yeah, nope.
Right. There's people that disappear like that every
Yep.
year. That just,
Yeah,
yeah. In
I would
my
explore the
hometown, there's a
entrance and
cave.
stuff, and maybe go a little bit, but I would not go
Just shine some
mile.
lights into the mouth or whatever.
Yeah,
Maybe.
quarter mile the most, and that's one way, not turning any other way. No, if there's any other passages, turn around. I ain't getting lost. Nope.
Good idea to bring some glow sticks and drop them along the way.
No, you have to really take it super seriously, because that is just it's not a joke. And I've been watching a lot of spelunking and cave diving. There's a lot of cave diving deaths and horror stories, and that it kind of freaks me out a little bit of some of the stories that they go into and how things can go wrong very fast.
Yeah,
And
I've listened to a lot of them. They turn out terrible for the
they do.
poor individual. That
It's good to like
people doing it alone. Never go caving alone.
it's good to look at that and to get prepared and realize that you should take this stuff seriously. A lot of people get hurt or get killed because they aren't taking what they're doing seriously. Little mistakes that if they just would have double checked, or the atmosphere, it's a little bit more dangerous than what they think it is. Some of these people would have been alive.
What was his name? Was it Terry or Tony? Beach was his last name. The M-shaped cave. That no one's ever found it, but
that YouTuber who went lost.
Yeah,
I can't remember what his name was, but yeah, he went missing looking for that M-shaped cave, and with this weird vibrational thing that was messing with them or something.
Kenny. It wasn't Terry. It was Kenny. Yeah, I couldn't remember his first name, but that'd be something else I'd be interested in, is going out and seeing. But you never can tell what's going to happen out there.
Robert Kreider, he does Kreider explorations.
Mm-hmm.
He's in South. He's in New Mexico and stuff. And he talks about caves, and he's done treasure hunting and has gone into some pretty amazing underground mines, crazy stuff that's out there. And he has pictures of rocks, and he has pictures of geoglyphs. He has pictures of things that no one else has that I've seen in North America, but basically of this ancient lost cultures and stuff like that. I think if you haven't check him out on some of that stuff. On some of his live streams, he goes into detail and shows evidence that he's got. Mm-hmm. And yeah, man, there's a lot of relics and mine shafts and things out and in this new world. It's not the new world, it's the old world that it's left undiscovered. It's censored, it's hidden, it's covered up, it's waiting to be rediscovered.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna pop out to the side chat now. I've been in here about almost 3 hours hanging out with you. It's been fun.
I appreciate it.
A lot of good conversation tonight. You care if I clip some of this and talk about this on my show?
Yeah, more than welcome to.
I'll send viewers your way. I don't have a lot of subscribers, but I do have some. So yeah, and if anybody from the side chat here is interested in seeing more of me talking about stuff like this and other stuff too, I talk about science and bugs and stuff like that, but I also like to talk about cryptozoology. I have a special section about stuff like cryptozoology. So if you're into that, you can subscribe to my channel. And you guys have a good night, okay?
Yeah, thank you so much.
My email's in the side chat if you ever want to invite me on for anything, okay?
Yeah. Thanks again.
James, Blake, you have a good night.
Good night. Mm-hmm.